Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Dear students, hope you are fine and best at your home. Today I will brief you regarding enteric fever. Enteric fever is one of the most important and common infectious diseases prevalent in our area. And per year it results in mortality and morbidity. The name Salmonella typhi is derived from the ancient Greek word typhos. Typhos is the name given to the smoke or cloud that was believed to cause disease and madness. It was first described by William Byrd in 1838, which was an English country doctor. Enteric fever is caused by the genus Salmonella and it is further subdivided into species. The most common is Salmonella enterashica and it is also further subdivided into subspecies. The most important subspecies is Serotyphi and Seroparatyphi. In 90% of the patients, the causative agent is Salmonella typhi, resulting in typhoid fever, while remaining 10% had paratyphoid fever due to Salmonella paratyphi, and combination of both typhoid and paratyphoid fever is known as enteric fever. Enteric fever is an acute generalized infection of the intestinal lymphoid tissue, of also gallbladder and reticuloendothelial system. The incidence of enteric fever is rising in underdeveloped countries. Total 30 to 50 million cases per year, new cases, and among them there is increased mortality around 5 million per year. For the pathogenesis of any disease, there is a close relationship between host, agent and the environment, and this relationship results in the manifestation of the disease. This is the description of Salmonella typhi and it has three important antigens. The capsular antigen known as the K or V1 antigens, then somatic or O antigen. They are present in the cell wall, and the antigen in the flagella. They are known as the H antigens. The Salmonella typhi is the major cause, and along with Salmonella paratyphi, A and B are also responsible for the enteric fever. It belongs to the Enterobacteriaceae family, and it is a gram-negative bacilli, motile, and having flagella. It is non-acid fast, non-capsulated, non-sporing form, facultative anaerobe. These enteric bacilli have three important antigens. O antigens, also known as the body or somatic antigens, they are less immunogenic and increase cross-reactivity. H antigen or flagellar antigen, they are strongly antigenic. Rapid rise of antibody titer in infection and after immunization. They last longer and are more specific. Then third antigen is VI antigen known as the virulence antigen. Salmonella typhi and Salmonella paratyphi C has VI antigens. It is poorly immunogenic and it disappears but sometimes may persist in chronic carriers. Humans are the only reservoir and only known susceptible host. Peak incidence occurs from 5 to 15 years, but any age can be involved. 10% of the cases occur in infant age group. No sex prediction. Children constitute 40 to 50% of the multi-drug resistant typhoid cases with higher case fatality rate. Now few words regarding case definition. Confirmed case of typhoid fever is a patient with fever 38 degree and above that has lasted for at least 3 days with a lab confirmed positive culture from the blood, bone marrow or bowel fluid of Salmonella typhi. Probable case of typhoid fever, a patient with fever 38 degree and above that has lasted for at least 3 days with a positive serological diagnosis or antigen detection test but without Salmonella typhi isolation. A chronic carrier, excretion of the Salmonella typhi in stools or urine or repeated positive bile or duodenal sting cultures for longer than 1 year after the onset of acute typhoid fever. Short-term carriers also exist, but their epidemiological role is not as important as that of chronic carriers. Some patients excreting Salmonella typhi have no history of typhoid fever. Typhoid Mary. Mary Malone, she migrated from Ireland to New York in 1907 and was the first asymptomatic typhoid carrier to be identified by the medical sciences, and she was made responsible for the outbreak of the enteric fever in New York. Association of environmental factor with pathogenesis of disease. Source of infection, primary and secondary. Primary sources are feces, urine of cases and carriers, while secondary sources are contaminated water, food, fingers and flies. Spread of infection is via water contamination, food contamination, house flies. Predisposing factors for enteric fever are overcrowding, poor personal hygiene, poverty and illiteracy, poor sanitary and water supply situations, and open defecation. All these factors lead to increased incidence of enteric fever. After ingestion of infected inoculum, the Salmonella typhi invades body through gut mucosa in terminal ileum and then passes through the intestinal mucosa into the mesenteric lymph node and from there to the lymphatics. After entering in the lymphatics, they again enter the bloodstream, and this is the asymptomatic bacteremia stage, and at this stage cultures are negative. Then they colonize reticuloendothelial system and they multiply and replicate in the macrophages. And from the macrophages they are shed back into the blood and resulting in the secondary bacteremia, and at this stage symptoms appear. This is the diagrammatic representation of pathogenesis of enteric fever. After ingestion of the infected inoculum, the Salmonella typhi is taken from the terminal ileum into the bloodstream, and it is the stage of the primary bacteremia. From there, it is again taken to the reticular and endothelial system, liver, spleen, and macrophages, where they multiplied and again shed into the bloodstream, and it is the stage of secondary bacteremia, and at this stage the symptoms of the enteric fever developed. The clinical features. Incubation period varies from 3 to 60 days and it depends upon the size of inoculum. Symptoms occur within 1 to 2 weeks. Clinical picture exhibits a wide range of clinical severity and varies according to age, from mild pyrexia to the fatal severe disease. The initial symptoms, which develop over 2 to 3 days, are fever in 95% of the cases, coated tongue in 76%, anorexia 70%, vomiting, hepatomegaly, splenomegaly, diarrhea, malaise, myalgias, headache, abdominal pain, diarrhea. In some patients, constipation can occur, cough and epistaxis, severe lethargy, relative bradycardia seen in older children and adults. Then clinical features according to the weeks of infection. In the first week, malaise, headache, cough and sore throat in prodromal stage. The disease classically presents with a step-ladder fashion rise temperature from 40 to 41 degrees centigrade over 4 to 5 days, accompanied by headache, vague abdominal pain and constipation or pea-soup diarrhea. In the second week, it occurs between 7th and 10th day of illness, mild hepatosplenomegaly in majority of patients. Relative bradycardia may occur and rose spots may be seen. In the third week, the patient will appear in the typhoid state, which is a state of prolonged apathy, toxemia, delirium, disorientation, and sometimes coma. Diarrhea will then become apparent. If left untreated by this time, there is a high risk, that is 5 to 10% of intestinal hemorrhage and perforation. And sometimes rare complications may occur like hepatitis, pneumonia, thrombophlebitis, myocarditis, cholecystitis, nephritis, osteomyelitis and psychosis in 2 to 5% of the patients. and some patients may become gallbladder carriers, chronic carriers. This is the pictorial representation of the stepladder fever, and as you can see, the fever starts from 37 degrees centigrade, and within 4 to 5 days it rises like stepladder pattern and reaches to the 40 to 41 degrees centigrade. Raw spots. These are pathognomic for enteric fever. They appear on 7 to 10 days of the infection in 10 to 20% of the individuals. They are macular, 2 to 4 millimeter in size, 15 to 20 in number, and they appear in crops in periumbilical and anterior chest. Better appreciated in the fair skinned people. They last from 2 to 3 days and leave a slight brownish discoloration of the skin on healing. If course remains uncomplicated, symptoms start decreasing by 2 to 4 weeks, although lethargy and malaise may persist for 1 to 2 months. Relapse rate 5 to 20%, 2 to 3 weeks after fever subsides or stopping antibiotics. It mimics original illness but milder and short duration. The most important and life-threatening complication of enteric fever are GI hemorrhage and perforation. Intestinal hemorrhage occur in less than 1% and perforation 0.5 to 1% are infrequent among children. Intestinal perforation may be preceded by a marked increase in the abdominal pain, tenderness, vomiting, and features of peritonitis. Intestinal perforation and peritonitis may be accompanied by a sudden rise in the pulse rate, hypotension, marked abdominal tenderness and gardening, and subsequent abdominal rigidity. A rising white blood cell count with a left shift and a free air on abdominal radiographs are pathognomic of intestinal perforation. Other complications of the enteric fever are in central nervous system encephalopathy, cerebral edema, subdural empyema, cerebral abscess, meningitis, ventriculitis, transient Parkinsonism, motor neuron disorder, ataxia, seizures, GB syndrome, and psychosis may occur. Retarding cardiovascular system, endocarditis, myocarditis, pericarditis, arthritis, and congestive cardiac failure. In involvement of the respiratory system, pneumonia, empyema, and bronchopleural fistulas may be present. Bone and joint involvement, osteomyelitis and septic arthritis can be a complication of enteric fever. Hepatobiliary system, cholecystitis, hepatitis, hepatic abscesses, splenic abscesses, peritonitis, and paralytic ileus. Regarding involvement of genitourinary system, UTI, renal abscesses, pelvic infection, testicular abscesses, prostatitis, and epididymitis. Soft tissue involvement may result in psoas sepsis, gluteal abscess, and cutaneous vasculitis. Hematological involvement may result in hemophagocytosis syndrome. The differential diagnosis of enteric fever. Other salmonella infections, but in these, GI symptoms are more acute than the general manifestations, and the pyrexia is much lower and of shorter duration. Malaria is another important differential, but history of previous attack is there, more rapid onset, shivering and sweating, high early pyrexia, relative infrequent abdominal symptoms and signs, and positive blood smear. Influenza, another differential, more rapid onset, high temperature, severe sore throat and cough, absence of a palpable spleen and raw spots. Other differentials are bacillary dysentery. It is acute in onset, severe bloody diarrhea. Signs and symptoms in dysentery are usually abdominal. Typhus and other rickettsial infection, they are usually acute in onset. High temperature at an early stage, rigors are common, prostration is rapid, rash is brownish red in color and much more profuse and does not fade on pressure. Leukocytosis is there. Wheel Felix test become significantly positive at about the 10th day. Then tuberculosis, and other important differential, the pyrexia and vague symptoms and sign may be very similar, but a chest x-ray or lab confirmation of the typhoid may be the only sure method of diagnosis. Brucellosis onset tends to be more insidious, and painful joint is frequently present in brucellosis. Lab investigations, complete blood count, hemoglobin is usually normal, but severe anemia is present if intestinal perforation and hemorrhage occurs. WBC count usually normal, but there is leukopenia in 20 to 25% of cases. Differential count eosinopenia in 70 to 80% of the cases. Platelet count usually normal, but thrombocytopenia is a marker of severe ileus and disseminated intravascular coagulation. The most important investigation is blood cultures, and blood cultures are gold standard for the diagnosis of typhoid fever. Bacteremia occurs early in the disease, and blood cultures are positive in first week in 90% of the cases, second week in 75%, third week in 60% of the cases, and in fourth week and later only 25%. Cases of typhoid are blood culture positive. Sensitivity is highest in the first week of illness and reduces with advancing illness. Bone marrow cultures. Salmonella typhi is an intracellular pathogen in reticuloendothelial cells of body, including bone marrow. The sensitivity of bone marrow culture is 80 to 95% in the third week. Advantages are it is good even in the late disease despite prior antibiotic therapy. Other methods in isolation of enteric pathogens are stool culture. They are usually positive during second week. Urine culture during third week. Bile culture obtained by duodenal aspiration, and culture of raw spots and pus from suppurative lesions, CSF and sputum may be positive for the enteric pathogens. Serological tests for the diagnosis of enteric fever previously were very important, but now the standard test for diagnosis of enteric fever is blood cultures. Serological tests include Vidal test. It was widely used previously. It measures agglutinating antibodies levels against O and H antigens. The level of IgM O antibody appears at 6 to 8 days, while H antibody, IgM and IgG appears on 10 to 12 days. Another important serological test is Typhidor, an enzyme immunoassay that detects IgG IgM antibodies against a 50 kilodalton outer membrane protein distinct from OH and VI antigens. Advantages are simple, rapid, and economical test, highly sensitive and highly specific. Disadvantages are it can't differentiate between acute and convalescent cases, false positive common due to the previous infection, Typhoid.M detects only IgM antibodies. Another important test is PCR, that is polymerase chain reaction. It is diagnostic but usually not done routinely. It is usually done for research purposes and in some complicated cases where previous infection and vaccination, false positivity, and status in chronic carriers leads to the difficulty in diagnosis. The management of enteric fever is divided into supportive care and specific antimicrobial therapy. Supportive care includes fluids, nutrition, and antipyretics, while specific antimicrobial therapy includes specific antibiotics for the treatment of enteric fever. Dietary management include monitoring of fluids and electrolyte balance. They should be monitored, and oral nutrition should be with soft digestible diet. Activity should be discouraged and rest advised till recovery. Surgical care for intestinal perforation is mandatory. Treatment of uncomplicated enteric fever. In fully susceptible or sensitive patients, antibiotic first-line oral drugs are third generation cephalosporin, cefixime. Daily dose is 15 to 20 mg per kg body weight. Duration of treatment is usually 14 days. Second line alternative antibiotic oral drugs are chloramphenicol, amoxicillin, and Septron. Daily dosage of chloramphenicol is 50 to 70 mg per kg, amoxicillin 75 to 100 mg per kg body weight, and Septron is 8 to 40 mg per kg body weight. And duration for chloramphenicol is 14 days, for amoxicillin 14 days, and Septron combination 14 days. For multi-drug resistant agents are very common in Pakistan, and especially cases are reported by WHO in Sindh. Third generation cephalosporin, cefixime is preference of choice, and dose is 15 to 20 mg per kg body weight. Duration of treatment is 14 days, along with azithromycin 10 to 20 mg per kg body weight, and duration is 14 days. How can typhoid can be prevented and avoided? Avoid risky foods or drinks. Get vaccinated. Use only clean water. Ask for drinks without ice unless you know where it's coming from. Only eat food that have been thoroughly cooked. Avoid foods and drinks from street vendors. Simple hand hygiene and washing with soap can reduce several cases of typhoid and prevent from this fatal disease. Frequent washing of hand and scrubbing of hand is very important for the prevention of enteric fever. Another important aspect of prevention is immunization. Parenteral whole cell inactivated vaccine, oral life attenuated vaccines are available, and polysaccharide subunit vaccinations are also available, or VI capsular polysaccharide conjugate vaccines are also available for the prevention of typhoid. Who should get the typhoid vaccine? Travelers to the parts of the world where typhoid fever is very common, people who work with or come in contact with the carrier of the disease, and laboratory analysts who work with the Salmonella typhi bacteria. Thank you so much for your kind listening.